Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. We're back on FFG's website because we have some more Star Wars Legion units revealed. And this is really cool because I wasn't sure looking at what's going to be released in Wave 1 that we were actually going to get any more commanders than what comes in the core set. And indeed, it appears we do. In fact, we also have some more new troopers, which again is an interesting thing. What we don't have so far is the Specialist unit, which is one of those unit types we saw a couple of articles back. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get any of those, say, on the Rebel faction. But for the time being, we have a couple of new units for the Imperial faction. We have a new commander in General Veers, and we have some Snowtroopers. Let's take a look at what's available in the Snowtrooper pack, first of all. So first of all, before we break down what's going on here, it is worth pointing out that depending on what version of the Star Wars canon you look at, what version of a battle simulator you look at, Snowtroopers and Stormtroopers often aren't distinguishable between each other. Often, Snowtroopers are actually considered Stormtroopers in the way that they function in battle. But FFG right here have decided to make the distinction between these two kinds of units. And for that reason, it's actually worth comparing the two of them. But before we do, let's just take a look at what we get. We get on the unit card, pretty much everything exactly the same as Stormtroopers. We get all the same upgrade slots, but we do have a couple of major differences. So let's bring up on the screen side by side the Snowtroopers and the Stormtroopers together so we can see what those differences are. So as you can see, the keyword in the middle of the card box on the Stormtroopers and Snowtroopers is different. On the Stormtroopers, we have Precise 1, which allows you to reroll an extra attack dice when spending an aim token. Now, we know from the last article that when you spend an aim token, you can reroll up to 2 dice. So obviously with Stormtroopers, that means you can reroll up to 3 dice, which is awesome. Snowtroopers are a bit different. They have Steady. After you perform a move action, you may perform a free ranged attack action, which is really cool. But it is also worth noting that Snowtroopers can only move at speed 1, just like Vader, while Stormtroopers can move up to 2. So they have a lot less movement overall, but they can capitalize off that movement. They are moving more efficiently because they get a free attack every time they move, which is very, very powerful. It's also worth noting there is one other major difference between these two units, and that is the fact that they have access to different kind of specialized minis. With the Stormtroopers, we have the DLT-19, which is some kind of sniper ranged rifle kind of thing, and we have the HH-12, which is some kind of bazooka. Now, we haven't got those cards fully revealed, but based on what we can see, the keywords are pretty much visible. But if we go over to the Snowtrooper pack, we have a couple of different specialized units. First up, we actually have a card which we can see on the front of the spread here, and we actually have all the keywords revealed. This is the T7 Ion Snowtrooper. It's another mini that goes on the Snowtrooper squad. It's also worth noting that it's 34 points. The core unit itself only cost 40, so it almost doubles the cost of the unit just by taking this particular mini, which seems quite a lot. So you'd hope it's very impactful. It's an extra mini that can only go on the Snowtrooper squad, and it gives you this attack. Range 1 to 2, roll a black and 2 white dice, has impact 1, and that means while you're attacking against something with armor, you change a hit result to a crit result. It also has Ion 1, which is a keyword we haven't had revealed before. A vehicle wounded by an attack that includes this weapon is given 1 Ion token. Now, we haven't had Ion tokens fully explained, but I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Ion on a vehicle functions the same way as suppression on troopers, basically limiting the amount of actions that unit can take when it activates. Makes perfect sense. One more thing I want to talk about on this card is the fact that it has this little arrow symbol on the right hand side. And I believe this is actually referring to something we saw in the last article. If you remember back from the movement article, we talked about the various actions that units can take, and one of them was recover. And it specifically said, when you recover, you ready all exhausted upgrade cards. I think what this symbol means is this card taps or gets exhausted when you use it, meaning you cannot use it again until you use the recover action. That little arrow indicates that you turn the card sideways, and the card turning sideways indicates that it is exhausted. This is a common function we see in a lot of card games, including things like Magic or the other FFG game Legend of the Five Rings. So I'm pretty confident that that's what this means. The other kind of specialist unit we have on the Snowtrooper squad is the Flamethrower Snowtrooper. And although we can't see what this entire card does, this does look very exciting. We can see the mini here on the left-hand side. It looks utterly awesome. We have the keywords on the card Blast and Spray, and we don't actually know what either of those things do just yet. But given it's a flamethrower, I'm guessing Spray is going to have some kind of knock-on effect when you attack troopers. It's going to have an effect on multiple minis on your opponent's squad. And I'm also guessing, because we can't see the range 1, I'm guessing it's only going to be range 1 to 2, or just range 1. If you have a close look at this, you can see it's actually doesn't seem to have a little dash next to that 1, which indicates it could just be range 0 to 1. And if that's the case, given that it can only go on the Snowtrooper squad, which can only move a maximum of 1 speed, something that is so close range must have a massive, massive payoff. We also have here grappling hooks, which we've had revealed before. This helps your units climb over obstacles, and we have another new card here in Impact Grenade, or at least what I assume is Impact Grenade. It's basically a thermal detonator with Impact 1, and as we saw before, Impact 1 increases the damage against any unit with armor, as in it changes one hit result to crit results, which is really cool. We have a nice specialized weapon that can go on your Stormtroopers, on your Snowtroopers, or on your Rebel Troopers that gives you another buff against vehicles. So yeah, these guys look really interesting. I want to get your opinions in the comment, guys. What do you think of this? Do you think Snowtroopers and Stormtroopers alongside each other give you enough variation? Do you think we're just covering too much of the same ground here? I don't know. I just wanted to end this little conversation on this picture here because I do love some of these photos that FFG are putting up in their articles. Let's move on to General Veers. Alright, here he is. And I gotta say, before we move on, I'm really happy that this was the choice of the first Commander expansion for the Imperial faction. General Veers is not a particularly iconic Star Wars character. He's not like Boba Fett or the Emperor or say Grand Moff Tarkin, and I think there's a very high chance that those will eventually become Imperial commanders at some stage. But General Veers is a good character because in The Empire Strikes Back, where he's featured, he's a really interesting background character. He's the first really utterly competent Imperial officer that we see. Up until that point, they all seem cocky, overconfident. They get themselves killed because they stay on the Death Star because in our moment of triumph, I think you overestimate their chances. But General Veer is a character that succeeds utterly and just follows commands really, really well. And I think that's really well represented on his unit here in Star Wars Legion. And here we go, here is the spread, and this looks really, really cool. There's a lot of information to go through. First of all, let's take a look at the card itself, which unfortunately we don't have a separate image for, so we kind of have to squint our eyes and have a look at this. Let's just zoom in and see if I can glean some info. It looks like 90 to me. It could be 80. It's a bit ambiguous. Rank Commander, but what is interesting is we have a couple of new upgrade icon, which seems to be some kind of war medallion. So it's interesting that Vader doesn't have this, but I guess if you think about it, Vader actually doesn't hold a rank in the Imperial military, where General Veers is quite high up, so he gets 2 of these. We've got a few keywords to have a look at. We have Spotter 2, which is an action. Choose up to 2 friendly units at range 1. Each chosen unit gains an aim token. This puts General Veers in a really interesting support role because he can actually increase the action efficiency of your other units. He can spend one of his actions to give 2 other units aim tokens, while they can spend their actions to move and attack, which is really, really cool. We also have Inspire 1. After your rally step, remove up to 1 suppression token from another friendly unit at range 1 to 2. Again, it's just a really great efficient support role. I quite like that. Precise 1, that means he gets an extra reroll off his aim spends. And Sharpshooter 1. While performing a ranged attack, reduce the offender's cover by 1. That's really cool. That seems to negate the shoulder-high barriers that we've seen in a lot of the demo games. His other stats is he has 5 health, 2 constitution. His surge results on attack dice converts into criticals, which is awesome. His armor is red, just like Stormtroopers. He can move 2, just like Stormtroopers. At close combat, he has 2 black dice, which is, again, very, very awesome. And he has his own blaster rifle, fires range 1 to 3 with 3 white dice, and it has Pierce 1. It's also worth knowing that this is the attack that gets that sharpshooter bonus. So it actually is a slightly better than what it appears like here. Just zooming back out to the spread again, we have a couple of these new upgrade cards, and we actually got a nice high-res picture of this one here. And that is Commanding Presence, costs 10 points. When issuing orders, you can issue orders at range 4, which is really, really potent. This gives you a lot of control over the battlefield. Only costs 10 points, that seems very reasonable for the amount of efficiency that gives your army. We also have this card here, which is very, very hard to read. There's a lot of very small text on it. It would seem to cost 8 points. While you are defending, each friendly core Something unit at range 1 gains a keyword 1. And when a friendly unit at range 1 is defending against a ranged attack, you may choose up to one of your hit results for each friendly choice. Roll a defense dice. Yeah, honestly, guys, this one's really hard to make out just looking at the spread. I'm sure someone's already deciphered it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do some hunting around the internet and try and find out what this means. And I will pin it in the top comment below this video so you guys can see what this is. And that's everything we see on the spread, but there's one more very important thing this article actually reveals. And this is what happens when you have more than one commander in your army. Now, going into this, I was thinking there's either going to be a rule that you can only have one commander, or if you have two commanders, you must choose one of them to be your proper commander at the start of the game. That's actually not the case. What happens is if you have more than one commander in your army, indeed, I should say you only can field two as an absolute maximum. At the beginning of each turn, you must choose which of those commanders issues orders for that turn, which is really cool. And this adds a lot of interesting strategies to the game. It adds a lot of scope in terms of list building because suddenly you have a pool of different command cards as well as all the generic ones to add to your opening hand of 7 command cards. And this is really, really cool. So I'll be really curious to see what happens when you put Veers and Vader on the same squad and how you construct that hand of command cards. And I honestly don't know how I'm going to approach that, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun playing around with that. And speaking of those command cards, of course, because this is a commander, we get a few more command cards that are unique to General Veers. A 1, 2, and 3 pip card. We only have a tiny smidgen of the art from the 2 pip card, and we can't even see the 3 pip card, but we have the 1 pip card entirely revealed. This is maximum firepower, and this is spicy. This is a 1 single pip, only issues an order to General Veers. At the end of General Veers' activation, he may perform an attack using the following weapon. Range 4 to what I assume is infinite, 4 red dice, impact 2, and immune to deflect. What this represents is, and I gotta say, when I first saw this, I thought, hang on, does General Veers have a bazooka in his pocket? No. What this represents is bombardment, either long range from like a neighboring AT-AT or even from orbit. This is General Veers just pointing at the battlefield and going, just something off in the distance, go and blow that thing up. And it's a huge devastating attack which is immune to deflect, which means snow speeders and AT-STs just, they get no armor bonus from their stuff, they get no deflect bonus, they just suffer this massive attack. And it's basically this one-off, really powerful attack which could just basically cripple anything on your opponent's squad. And this is the cool thing about General Veers, is we have already seen Vader, and Vader is a super efficient unit that can slow march his way through the battlefield and just cut down your opponent's squad. General Veers does not do that. He supports all the surrounding units, and he gives you, at the very least, this one-off devastating attack, which is really cool. I'm really excited to see what the 2 and 3 pip card's going to be. But he's got his own flavour. He's nothing like Vader, which is seriously cool. I don't know about the validity of fielding him and Vader together, but he does at the very least seem to be much cheaper than Vader, so it does look like it will be possible. It just depends how expensive that's going to be overall and how many points you have left over for other units. But all in all, I'm really excited for this card. And I'm very excited for the Snowtroopers too. They look really cool. One more thing I'll note before I finish this video is that this is slated to release the first quarter of next year, just like all the Wave 1 content, which indicates that this is also going to be part of Wave 1. That means very soon we're going to have a core set with a couple of commanders, and in Wave 1 it looks like we're at least going to get General Veers. I'd be very surprised if we didn't also see another Rebel commander. And hopefully over the next couple of days we see what that is. But in the meantime, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, like the Facebook page, and I will catch you later.